everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
And today we're taking a look at a game called Shallow Sea. This is a new game from Bad Comet, who is known for making wildlife-style games. This comes on the heel. They do one every year or so. Wondrous Creatures, Life of the Amazonias, Wild Serengeti. And this one here is about fish. Look, it's Nemo. The clownfish, my favorite fish, or one of my favorite fish anyway. This is a tile placement game. Let's see how it plays. In this game, players are going to be building up a tableau of tiles and fish here to score points. On a player's turn, and you're all going to take 17 turns, when there's only a few tile open spots left on your board, that signifies the end of the game. You're going to take a grouping of tile and fish. And so these are randomly pulled from bags. There are lots of different animal tokens in this game. There are 2 trays worth of tokens, and you're only going to be using 10 of those, well, depending on the number of players, thrown into a bag. Each player will start with one of these animals on the board. And to activate it, well, we'll get to that in a second, how these activate. But what you're going to do in your turn is you're going to take either this tile and the fish, or this tile and the fish, this tile and the fish, or this one. 10 different combinations. However, if you have any seashells, and everyone starts with 2, you can spend one of those to take a fish and a different tile. You can also spend those to wipe the fish or one of the groupings of tiles and redraw from the bag and put out new ones before making your choice. If there's ever 4 of the same color fish or 4 of the same color tile here, you can also do that for free. So after you take it, let's say for example, I take this one and this. Each tile must go next to a tile you have on your board, and each fish goes on a bubble that's next to one of your tiles. Now what you're trying to do to activate these reef tiles, you simply need to have fish next to them that it shows on there. So here's 2 purples and 2 greens. When that happens, you'll turn it over. It's going to score you points at the end of the game. Here's 7 points. And you must take one of the fish and put it on there, which is important because if I have this tile here, for example, well, I'm going to take this purple fish and put it on because I still need this green to activate this, and I'm going to want to put a yellow there to activate that. If you ever have tiles that match, let's say, for example, I had activated this one here somehow. This is a purple reef, and this is a green reef. And this one here says the 2 tiles in that spot, if they're different, I can flip this, which allows me to flip it over. Now I have a sea turtle. And so there's all different. This says I have 4 of the same backgrounds here, although some have to do with the fish. 3 different color fish. The fish doesn't have to match the background. You can put a purple fish on a green and vice versa, and whatever colors on whatever. And so some of these tiles will have to do with the fish. Some will have to do with the backgrounds. These will score partial points at the end of the game. So for example, this one here says you need to have 2 different tiles, the turtle. So if you get it over, it's 6. If you don't, it's worth 2. Or in this case, I need 3 different fish in the spots here. These can be rotated. And I'll get 9 points. Let's say I only got 2 of them. I'll get 3 for each. So I would get 6 points. There's also going to be 2 cards, an orange card and a purple card. And these will give you points at the end of the game for various things. Like for example, this one here gives you 3 points for every pair of 2 of the same color at the end of the game. While this one here is going to give you 2 points for each column that has exactly 1 completed sea life. And so these will also be added, as well as fish that you haven't used. One last thing, every time you complete anything, you get a shell. And you can use those shells, like I said, to manipulate the rows above. But you can also use these shells, you can spend 2 of them, to move a fish that's not been assigned to a reef to any open spot on the board. Anyway, after everyone has placed their tiles and the game ends, whoever has the most points is the winner. All right, this game is a gorgeous looking game. The screen printed meeples, the fish, and there's a bit of satisfaction in the game as you turn over the coral tiles. They look beautiful on the board. The sea tiles you turn over, you're like, oh man, it's a manatee. That's cool. And so it just has a really good look to it.
Yeah, I agree. Bad Comet is kind of known for their productions. They've done some really, really impressive and kind of grandiose productions. This is on a smaller scale from some of their others, actually most of their others, but the art is still beautiful. It really pops on the table. And as you mentioned, the screen printed wooden meeples are beautiful. So yeah, production-wise, as far as the look of the game, it's very, very impressive.
Even the rulebook is linen finished. I mentioned the rulebook because this is definitely a step down in complexity from their last couple games. But the rulebook is 20 pages and goes into exquisite detail on everything and not just explaining the difference between the 4 different fish here. Did you know it's an orange spotted filefish is what they call the green fish. Anyway, but it explains everything in great detail. The game is pretty easy to teach to people, I found.
Yeah, because the rule book is so, comprehensive, I feel like it does cover any of the edge cases or confusion that you might have. And that's something to know going in, is that if you are opening up the game for the first time and you see this rule book as big as it is, don't get too intimidated by it, because most of that is going to be compendium material, appendix, things along those lines. The actual rules to the game are by far the simplest of any of this publisher's games.
Yeah, my only complaint would be some of the symbology. You have to really remind people, A, that the fish and coral are different because they can get caught up in that, and because the tiles look the same otherwise. But there's also, like, for example, there's one that has a 4 and 2 diagonal arrows. And so does that mean 4 fish in both, 4 fish in one? And what it means is it's a total of 4 or more in both lanes. And I found, like, for example, that specific tile I've had to explain to everybody playing the game.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the iconography could have been a little bit more clean, a little bit more intuitive. I don't think it's bad overall. I don't think that it's just like uniformly bad iconography, but I do think that there were a couple that maybe they could have come up with a better solution. I don't know what it is, but it's not my job to know what it is. But yeah, I think a couple of them could have been a little bit clearer. But again, you could refer to that rule book, and it's gonna cover just about every case you come up with.
On the flip side of that, though, I do wonder, so you put a certain number of wildlife tiles, it's 10, and a certain number in the bag at the beginning of the game. Even though I mentioned the symbology, the fact is the wildlife tiles aren't particularly different. It's going to be different shells, different corals, same coral, different fish, same fish, in these spots, right? And so you pick out 10 of them, which requires a little bit of setup and tear down to pull those out. I'm trying to figure out why that matters that much, why I can't just have 40 tiles in the bag.
Well, honestly, I've never even considered that, so I don't have a ready answer for you. I'm not sure you're actually looking for an answer from me, but the impression I got was that they're kind of some complexity differences there, that, like, with first-time gamers, they have a starting set that they recommend because they're very straightforward. You have 3 of the same type of fish in 3 diagonal tiles, things along those lines that are very easy to understand and parse, where some of the other sets have a little bit more going on. They're going to be interacting with other sea life tiles in such a way that it can create a more complex decision space. That was the impression I got, that it's really mostly about different types of experiences that you can get.
So in this game is going to be compared to others. There's no way around it. The number one game it's going to be compared to is Cascadia, because in Cascadia, you also take a tile and a thing to put on that tile. They're different games, but Cascadia is the most well-known, but there's also Verdant and other games where you're collecting these things. One thing that Shallow Sea does, I think, slightly different than these other games is it's one of the most forgiving in this genre that's out there. You have those shells, and since you get a shell every time you complete a tile, you can wipe out, you're like, I want this tile. It's not there. I'll wipe it away. Still not there. I'll do it again. I can spend 2 of these shells to move a fish anywhere I need to move it. I can rotate these tiles any direction I want. And so as you put out the tiles, you are competing against other people to get your best placement, as opposed to games like Calico and such, where when you get to the end, you're like, oh, I'll never fit anything in here. Here you have a much stronger chance of that happening.
Yeah, it's that's very true. And you mentioned the two games that I think it's going to have the most likely comparisons to, Calico and Cascadia. Cascadia more so, but Calico in the sense that it does become a game of constriction as the game goes on. You have just fewer and fewer places that you can place those tiles. But as you mentioned, there's a lot more mitigation available to you in shallow sea. Just again, as you said, being able to kind of rotate tiles. It's really big later in the game being able to move the incomplete fish to a new spot. I mean, that's just going to be huge, and you're going to do it every single game that you play. It's just almost impossible not to. And so I do feel like it's a nice kind of balance between those. It doesn't have the just lay out a tile anywhere you want, almost like Cascadia, but it also doesn't have that feeling where on your last couple of turns, you're just either hoping for a particular tile to come out, like in Calico, or just feeling like, this last couple of turns are wasted. I have not found that to be the case here.
Sure. I mean, I played this just recently. I played Ofrenda, which is another game of placing stuff out, where it felt so constrictive as you play stuff out and couldn't finish it. Here, you're constantly getting the shells. There's this constant endorphin, hey, I'm finishing stuff, and you flip it over and it looks good. That being said, Shallow Sea isn't particularly something brand new. And I want to be clear, I like the game, but I think that is a problem for this game. If you take away the beauty of how it looks, then I don't see much difference between this and other games that are out there. There's a lot of games about placing tiles and things on the board. This game is, I think, 17 turns, and for some people, that might be a few turns too long, right? It's not a particularly long game, but you are doing the same thing over and over again. And I don't know that this particularly stands out. Again, on its own merits, I like it. And for me, the thing that keeps me from saying, don't bother getting it, is the fact that it's easy to play, and it gives you that constant finishing things as opposed to other games from like, I hope I finish anything. But I do wonder that it's going to stand out other than, it's pretty.
You've hit on the thing that I think is the biggest negative to the game, where mechanically I really like what it's doing. Visually, if there's anything shallower than the sea, it's me when playing a game. I love the way it looks, and so that really is a big bonus for me. But the biggest negative is that it's a very, very crowded market. This type of game is a dime a dozen. And so it really doesn't do anything particularly different to those. And so if you're looking for novelty, if you're looking for innovation and uniqueness, you're not going to really find it in Shallow Sea. What you are going to find, I think, is a very, very solid mechanically puzzle-type game that is beautiful to look at.
Yeah, so for me, I enjoy it a lot. There's very little player interaction. I'm assuming you're playing your board correctly. One game of this I played with my daughter. She's like, I'm not doing anything great. And at the end, she killed everybody. And we're like, well, we think you played it properly. But it looks good. It's easy to play. And you get stuff done, and you feel kind of proud of your little ecosystem of water at the end. So for that part, that brings it above me going, meh, it's just another one of these games. I give it a 7. I enjoy it. I like how it looks. It plays in a very reasonable amount of time, and it also, the number of players, I think, doesn't really hurt or negatively affect it, so it seems like all player counts work well.
And I'm a bit higher. I'm coming in at an 8, but I don't think we're too far off. I just think that my shallowness bumped it up a bit more than yours, because I just love, first of all, I love underwater themed games, so this is going to get a little push there. And I just love the aesthetics, and I do like puzzle games, and I do think that it does this type of game well. Its biggest negative, the thing that keeps it from going higher for me, is what we've already said, is that there's really nothing new here and nothing novel. We're not going to mention the expansion that was released at the same time. There is an expansion that includes a different board that you have sea turtles. I will say that I absolutely like that. But I'm not playing that into this. I'm just talking about the base game. I'm giving it an 8. And again, I wish it stood out a little bit more, but I really like what it's doing.
Well, there you go, folks. That's Shallow Sea. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Mike Delicio.
See you next time, Under the Sea. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.